Hello, ladies.
Hello. Welcome to our social distancing book club for Friday the 22nd. Hard to believe Memorial Day is here.
Yeah, beginning of summer officially.
Yeah. At least we're getting some nice warm weather now instead of all the rain. So
that is nice.
Yeah.
Well, today I was going to start with the book I've been reading is Molokai, and it's by Alan Baronetter. Or no, there's no there's a E-R-T at the end, so B-R-E-N-N-E-R-T, and it's a historical fiction about the island of Molokai on Hawaii, where they sent lepers. And it's set at the turn of the century, so a little before 1900. And the main character is a 7-year-old girl who gets leprosy and gets taken from her family and sent over to Molokai all by herself. And then an uncle was leprous as well and was sent a few months before her, and she was able to connect with him, but then had to, they had nuns and a home that you were required to go with them and live with them, whether you were a young female or unwed. And I'm almost done with the book. It's been a really fast read, about two days total.
Oh.
And it's kind of a coming of age story. Of course, it's very sad. Of course, it made me want to research more. So I looked up, in today's day and age, you can sit there and of course do Google Maps and then jump all around and see things in real time. And I was able to see some of the churches, and then you could do virtual tours of the churches in different areas that are mentioned in the book. And the actual leper colony still was in existence until 1967. And it touches all the things, everything from family members completely disowning you, them having rights and considering you dead as you go onto the ship to go over to Molokai, how people completely stop talking to you, or families kind of get separated. They used to call it the family separating sickness. And then the different types of leprosy. And there's actually still leprosy that happens today. However, in my research, I found that they do a series of medications that one form you take the medications for 6 months, and the other form it's a year, and it can be resolved. So imagining how awful that disease is for people who get it in the past, at least there's some hope for people now who get it. So,
Morgan, in your research, did you find out what causes leprosy? Is it an autoimmune disease?
So it said they can tell it's not from touch per se, and it's not from sexual congress or anything like that. They still don't know exactly how people get it. They know it is from human contact. The presiding theory right now is that it's upper respiratory.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So, but otherwise it's not communicable majorly. And some people are immune to it and they don't know why, but they know there's at least 2 types of bacteria bacterium that cause it. And one type of leprosy causes just your neurons on your skin tissue to deaden, and then you can get sores that will be mostly on your skin. And then the other form can actually go into your organs, your internal organs, and cause it. The second kind is people would die sooner from it than the first kind. And it can go into remission all on its own as well. And so you could not have sores or any activity for years for some people, and then it would come back. So.
What is the name of the book again? How do you spell the name of the book and the author?
So it's Molokai, Molokai'. And
Molokai, you said?
yes, so Molokai'.
Okay.
And the author is Alan, Alan Brennert, so Brennert. And it's
Okay.
a national bestseller, but beautiful scenery, of course, because it's Hawaii. But the main character really wishes she could travel, and her mother ends up stop writing to her in her early teens and basically disowns her. And her father still tries to keep contact and comes and visits her on the island at least twice. So
What years did that take place?
it's the turn of the century. So like she contracts it like in 1892 or 4, and then it's going through the early 1920s. This is as far as I'm so far in the book. So yeah, you cry, and sometimes, you know, she gets combative when she's younger because she doesn't understand why she's so restricted, and the shame that's involved. And of course, I mean, when she first gets it, she has no idea. She's 7 years old. And then as she ages, she, of course, friends come and go and people die, and no understanding. And it's also the time when the church comes in, and there's differing opinions on the culture of religion, and some people's beliefs, whether God or Pele or whomever. So there's all of that kind of thing, and the different rituals that are done, and different techniques of doctoring, and Western doctor versus their form of doctoring. And so there's a lot of that too. And then she has moments too where she runs away and escapes, and then she decides, well, maybe it's not so bad, and goes back. So
At least he knows it.
an actual coming of age, you know. So, but I've enjoyed the book. I recommend it. Would anyone else like to go next with what they have been up to, reading or watching, or movies, TV, open to whatever?
Reading or watching? I could talk about what I'm reading right now.
Okay.
I have like a stack of 4 or 5 books on my nightstand that I keep trying to get to. So I finally picked up one that's in the stack by Emily St. John Mandel, and it is that book because of us being in the middle of an epidemic, or I thought I would take a look at this book finally and get through it. And the title, let me think. Station 11 is the one that I'm starting to finally read. It's been sitting there forever. I know we've been talking about pandemic books in the past, but I thought I would jump in and read one. So finally getting to it.
What
It's
do you
about
think?
oh, go ahead, Laura.
What do you think so far?
I like it so far. I did try it like about a year ago and couldn't get very far into it, but I'm liking it more now than before. So sometimes with books, if the book doesn't pull you in right away, you should try it again in the future if you think you might want to. And that's what this book is like. So I'm liking it so far. It's interesting. And it seems like it's a fast read. It's an easier read, and it has interesting characters in it. It's a time when the world does not have electricity anymore, and it was all brought on. Did we talk about this one earlier as one of the pandemic books that you were talking about, Morgan?
No, I don't think so. Not this one.
No. So a pandemic happened, and it was a very quick virus that wiped out the majority of the planet. And of course, there was no electricity at that point. And all the things that cell phones, cars, airplanes, all those things are gone. So it's really interesting how people survived that. And the reason I'm bringing that up, and I'm reading it right now, is she just came out with another book. and I have a card of new books here right with me. And this is her newest book. It's called, the title is probably backwards, but I know people like to see covers. The Glass Hotel. So this is a totally different subject than her first book, which is about a pandemic. And this, I think people are starting to talk about this one. I've seen some, you know,
I have that in my
press about
stack
it.
back here.
Do ya?
Yeah.
Dawn
Me
told
too.
me about it. She said she read it over a weekend and thought it was very good.
Oh, wow. So it's another really fast read and moves along, it sounds like. Totally different story, though. So I think the author is a gifted person that can find really interesting subjects and turn it around and create a story that's multi-layered and interesting to read. So this is her newest, in case any of you want to go to a newer book. The other book it's been out for like 3 or 4 years, so maybe longer even, I don't know.
Longer, I think, yeah.
Is it longer?
Yeah.
So,
It was one of my favorite books when it first came out. And also the author writes for a literary blog called The Millions. So if anyone's interested, we have that posted on our reader's resource page as one of the things that you can read more about literature. So I'd recommend that. She's really, really good at writing just in general and evaluating other books.
mhm. So it's good to read a book that I tried to read before, and I'm actually enjoying it now that I must be in just the right frame of mind to want to read it at this point. Yay.
Now you can tell us what to do if all of our electricity fails.
All I can say is start buying candles right now and get some lighters and matches. You're all set then.
The next mad rush to the store.
I know, everybody looking for candles and lighters.
Back
Oh, wow.
over.
Yeah, he had a little bit about a guy going in the grocery store, right? And it was on the TV and people were panicking. So it's sort of like today where they were buying toilet paper.
Yeah. Yeah, the new gold, the new currency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting book. It's keeping me reading it. So that says a lot. And this other book that, you know, we just talked about, that's a new one from her. Sounds like people are enjoying that too. So I'd check out this author, Emily St. John Mandel.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
So I'll jump in if you're done.
Mhm.
I'm just featuring, I don't necessarily read the whole book, and it's backwards, right?
Yeah.
That shows forwards for me.
Oh,
So
me too.
Yeah. For Tina, yours was forwards, but
Was it?
this is backwards to me, so maybe that's
Huh.
how it worked. This is a book called The Universe by Brian Cox and his friend Jeff Forshaw. And they've written a whole bunch of science books. They're both particle physicists. So you don't necessarily read this cover to back, but you know, you can just read parts of it. Brian Cox is pretty famous now. He worked at CERN. He was in a rock band, some British rock bands when he was young. And then he worked at CERN on the Hadron Collider. And then he became a presenter for the BBC programs on science. So he's pretty famous in England. We actually have one of the DVDs of the BBC program, The Wonders of the Universe. He did a whole bunch of wonders programs on the universe, life, the solar system. They're all fascinating. I just love them. There's one where they talk about gravity, and they show in Spain where these communities get together and have these big contests where they have people forming sort of pyramids, circular pyramids, where the little kids climb to the top, like way, way, way at the top of the pyramid, and then the whole thing collapses to show gravity. I mean, he's using it to show gravity. They do it anyway in Spain. And it's just so funny to watch these kids climbing up all these people to get to the top, and you know, how the whole community supports that. So that's just one scene, but there's so many really good scenes. And what I love about the, not only the books, the DVDs, we have a number of them here. I wonder why, but they do a podcast, and it's a science podcast that was originally a BBC radio program, but now you can just listen on any podcast system. And it's called The Infinite Monkey Cage. And one of the guys involved with it in some ways was Eric Idle of the Monty Python. So there's a whole lot of humor in this. It's basically Brian Cox and Robin Inch, who is a comedian, and they make science funny. The whole time you're laughing, but they always have experts in different fields. They cover different subjects. And two of the podcasts, it started way back in 2009, and they are still doing it today. Two that really stuck with me. One is Does Size Matter? And they talk about insects and how they can go really, really far and land and be perfectly fine. But if an elephant falls down, it'll sort of die, splash and die. So size makes a huge difference on survivability. And so their conclusion is, if you want to have a superhero, it has to be tiny because it's more, it'll survive better that way. And the other one, I really loved the one on their astronaut special, where they have, among other astronauts, Charlie Duke, who he went up to the first moon landing, but he stayed in the capsule while the other guys went on the moon. And he then later went up and went on the moon. And he talks about his dad watching him, and his dad had seen the Wright brothers flying the planes.
Oh.
So just imagine that span of history. It's pretty amazing. So anyway, if you want to listen to a science program that's hysterical the whole way through, I would recommend the podcast of The Infinite Monkey Cage. So that's basically what I have to say. Also, my last birthday, these two guys, Robin Inch and Brian Cox, tour the world, Australia, England, the United States, with a science program. Believe it or not, people flock to the theater to see them. And I was lucky to get to go see them in Milwaukee for my birthday. Something I'll always treasure. That's enough.
The Universe is by Brian Cox, and who else? I'm sorry.
It's called the Infinite Universe is the podcast.
Okay.
Do you ever listen to podcasts? You can get.
I do, but I was talking about the book more.
And one book we have here is The Human Universe. And then there's one called Just the Universe. We also have some on, what's the word I'm thinking of? Quantum physics. There's some, which is so hard to understand. I don't know if you've ever tried to understand it, but it's crazy. And he simplifies it, which is why he's such a great presenter. He and his co-writers. So I would definitely try the quantum physics books. And there's a British actor called Brian Cox too. So you always get confused if you're looking him up. If you need help finding the right thing, let me know.
All right, sounds good.
And Beth, what do you have to offer?
Oh, well, okay. So I've been looking at graphic novels on Hoopla again. So the one that I read just recently was called Crowded, C-R-O-W-D-E-D, Crowded, Volume 1, The Soft Apocalypse. And it's Christopher Sabella, Rose Stein, and Ted Brandt are the authors. And it is about a near future time when there's an app that you can set up to crowdsource an assassination. And the government has decided to let that be something that's okay. And so if you are crowdsourced and they put a hit out on you, then you can hire somebody to protect you. And if you can survive for a month, they can't put another hit out on you. So there's a
whole new industry.
Yes, a whole new industry. And it's televised. It reminded me of.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Blade Runner.
Televised. It reminded me an awful lot of the premise of the new movie that's coming out called Guns Akimbo. And that's the same actor who did Harry Potter. It's his newest thing, is Guns Akimbo. It's coming out whenever theaters reopen.
That's Daniel Radcliffe?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh.
So
I know the Skyview Theater, the outdoor theater, opens this weekend here in Dorchester.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that they're necessarily going to do Guns Akimbo at the Skyview, but
No,
maybe
but
not.
no,
maybe the late movie.
was really, really the woman who's got the hit put out on her is not likable. Oh my gosh, she's not. She's just like unpleasant in the kind of she doesn't even realize how unpleasant she's being. And a whole bunch of people have put like $5 in, and it's up to $2 million because she annoys everyone. And so suddenly
You
she's
want to
got
live
this
in a little town, so then not that many people know you.
yeah, she's burned every bridge she's got and then some. And so she hires someone to protect her then. And that person is just trying to get by. And it seems like once she's taken this contract, every single thing in her life goes to heck in about 3 days. So over the course of 3 days, as she's trying not to let this woman be killed, everything she tries to do goes wrong. And so it's this comedy of errors going on, and the woman who's got the hit put out on her doesn't understand what's going on, but she really doesn't want to talk about it. She just wants to not die. And it's just fascinating. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. So Crowded, Volume 1, The Soft Apocalypse. So
That begs that she must live because there's going to be a volume 2, or maybe that's
at the end of Volume 1, she was still alive, and they were on the lam. So
All right. Melissa or Marie, would you like to share, or are you just listening today? Correct.
Today I'm just listening. I've been reading the same books. I haven't had as much time as I want to. So, but Marie probably has some books.
Actually, right now I'm only listening to one book because I have 3 of them that I have to have listened to by Sunday, and then I have to wait till the first to
Get more
check them out. Check them out on Hoopla. Because I've checked out my $5 for the month.
Do you ever
but,
try the other ones besides Hoopla?
Yeah, I've been listening to some books on Libby, and then since we talked about the R&B digital,
Yeah.
I have a couple that I listen to there as well.
Oh, great.
Speaking of the R&B digital, I started listening to a book. It's called The Lakotas and the Black Hills. Looks like it's by Jeffrey Ulstler. I'm probably murdering his last name. And it's a very good book. It's all about how the Lakota people were the first people, and then kind of how the colonists and stuff kind of pushed them to one part, and how different wars and stuff broke loose. I haven't finished it yet to know what it's all about, but the little bit that I've listened to was mostly about some of the massacres that happened in that time.
Nonfiction or fiction? Is it story or nonfiction?
For genre, it just says that it's history. I'm not sure if it's fiction or nonfiction.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
Sometimes it's hard to tell when you're on the digital apps because you
Yeah.
can't see the number that isn't an 800, for example, or
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds interesting.
the ISBN is in the details.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the 900s.
Oh, then that would be nonfiction.
It is a nonfiction. Okay.
Yeah, it would be in the biography section.
Okay.
Neat.
Oh, all right.
I like
Cool.
this genre too. So, and Native Americans are an interest of mine as well.
Yeah, I like anything that's historical, so like any of the wars, anything that's written about them, anything that's written about the Native Americans. In fact, actually on Hoopla, I'm reading a story about an African American lady. She told her story of how she grew up. She was born kind of at the end of World War II, but then she grew up during the civil rights era. How she was kind of like in her teenage, early adult life in that time, and how it greatly affected her till even into her adult years and after she started having children and stuff like that. And that book is called While the World Watched. And it's by Caroline Mullen McKinstry. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that wrong, how to pronounce that. But yeah, those are the two that I'm focusing on right now. But like I said, I have like two others that I want to finish or at least start before Sunday.
The problem of being a reader.
Yeah. And the one is The Passion of Marie Romanoff, and then the other one is about Anne Frank's. It's not her diary. It's a different one. Oh wait, it is actually her diary now that I clicked on it. Apparently, it's an Audible book. So
That was,
those are my other.
that was the first book that ever grabbed my attention when I was a kid, was The Diary of Anne Frank. So
Yeah.
I heard that book never caught my interest until I actually saw her story in like two different documentaries. Then I actually took an interest in books and stuff that were about her.
mm-hmm. There's another one that I just saw in the Smithsonian magazine, and I saw it on our magazine table. And I don't remember what issue it was, but it was in the last 2 years or so, where there was another young girl's diary. She was 15 that they had found, and then they had excerpts of it in that magazine, and that were very good because it was, the coming of age in a time of peril, and how you still try to keep some of your humanity even though you're imprisoned.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, the only other thing I've been watching, I have Netflix, so I've been watching a new show called Dead to Me, and I still don't know how I entirely feel about it. Sometimes it feels like a mystery, and sometimes, but I'll read you the description, and I still can't decide if I think one of the two characters are really evil or if they're conspiring or what is going on. But it says Dead to Me is an American dark comedy television series, which was premiered in May of 2019 on Netflix. It stars Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini as two grieving women who bond during therapy. And the first season received positive reviews, blah, blah, blah. And Applegate received a nomination for Outstanding Lead Actress. So Applegate's husband dies in a car accident while he's running at like 1 a.m. And she's a real estate agent, and she's just temperamentally pissed off that this even happened. And two kids, two sons, one's 14 and one's probably, I'd say 9. 14-year-old ends up, I've gotten to a part where he's having trouble in school, very just on his computer all the time, and he just got in trouble for selling drugs, which were his father's drugs that he stole, and just got kicked out of school. And the other girl says that she's going into therapy because she's had miscarriages, and that's broken up her marriage. And then Christina Applegate gets the guy's house to sell, and then he says that she's a nutball. Well, it turns out that husband and that girl were the ones that hit her husband and killed him. And so now this girl is living with her because she's felt sorry for her because she got, out of her house since the husband. But she doesn't know, of course, that these two are the ones who actually hit her husband, and they're hiding the vehicle that hit the husband in a storage unit building area. And it's every time I watch it, I'm like, oh no, like, don't be friends with her. And then all of a sudden, like, I can't decide if the husband's in cahoots with it all too. It's mind blowing. But yeah, while I'm cooking dinner, I'm watching this and I'm like, what? Yeah.
Don't watch it while you're cooking dinner. Dinner will burn. This is what pot boilers are for. That's what that actually means.
Well, you can come to my house and cook dinner, then I'm all up for it. Well, I watch the show and I know what's going on. But yeah, it's one of those cases where your life is much worse than mine at this point, so it's highly entertaining.
I was just reading about a new program that's going to be on, but not on a channel I get, National Geographic. Has anyone read anything by Annie? I can't pronounce her name. Proulx, Proulx. I think she did Shipping Lanes or something like that, and a whole bunch of others. I'm not too familiar with her, although I think I once ran into that one. But she wrote a book called Bark Skin, and they've made a 10-part, series of it. And she's nervous. She's apparently in her 80s, and she's nervous because she had nothing to do with the actual screenplay or the production. But it's her book. And she said it has something to do with, I don't know if they're an authentic Native American tribe or some sort of tribe. And the point of the book was that to show how changes in the environment affect global warming, but she's afraid they're going to present it in the wrong way and not get her message across. So I'd love to see it, but I see we have the book around, but not, I wanted the audio book, but I didn't find it on Hoopla. Hoopla has all their other books, but not that one. Maybe it's too new. But the book is here, so I'm curious about that now. Just read that article today.
Interesting. Well, it might be on Disney Plus then, because Disney Plus has National Geographic.
Do they? Well, since I don't have kids, I don't have Disney Plus, but I know my son does with the little kids.
Also, Tumble Books through our service at the library has different clips of National Geographic. I don't think there's any long programming, but they have some clips on there from National Geographic.
We'll probably get the DVD eventually, right? If it, thing.
Or maybe it'll come out on Hoopla. Hoopla likes to do documentary movies.
I think it's a novel. It's not like a documentary.
Oh, you're saying it was going to be a 10-part series, maybe though?
It's 10 parts. Yeah, it sounds like one of her novels.
So 2 months on Hoopla.
So we'll have to watch for it.
Okay.
She's written so much. Anyone else have anything to say? Melissa, you said you are still on the same books?
Yes, I'm still on the same books.
That happens when you do the long stuff. That's why for this, I always do the really short things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I try to dig up things that I keep going back to. Some things I keep going back to. And I'll say about my favorite Brian Cox series. Those are all on the, I subscribe to one of those. There's so many different places to look these days for things. What's it called? Curiosity Zone or something, Curiosity Stream, something like that. I saw it advertised for a whole year for $12. It's even cheaper. And so I subscribed, and it's all documentaries. So they have all of these BBC documentaries and all sorts of different ones that I really like. So I actually subscribed and have that service now, so I can watch those over and over.
Well, this is my next thing.
Oh, I listened to that.
So, The Enchanted Files. This is Bruce Koval's Diary of a Mad Brownie. And my plan is to read this out loud and put it on our Facebook group. So I'm going to do 5-minute chunks so that it's not too overwhelming for people, so that they can sit and listen and then click on the next one for the next 5 minutes worth. And I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I do know that it's going to be a really, really heavy Scottish accent. So.
Well, you might have to explain what brownies are for people who don't know Scottish mythology.
Ah.
Because
well,
it's not a cookie brownie thing.
No, it's not a cookie brownie. They are they are a member of the fair folk, so they are hardworking household spirits. And
Clean up the
this
house. It's awesome. I need
yes, they clean the house and they take care of the things and they teach your children to pick up after themselves. Me good. So
very useful.
Who doesn't need a brownie in the house? Yes, so this should be a fun one.
Mm-hmm. We listened to that on a road trip this past year with the kiddos in the car. We decided we all could have one. The sad thing we noticed is they said that the brownies went to the oldest female household, or in the different generations.
In the line, yes.
So they had it as a sort of pet or helper?
No, that's.
He would get very grumpy if you would call him a pet. Yeah,
you'll just have to listen to the story, Laura.
Or like in the Golden Compass, where they have those alternative characters. What do they call them there? I forget.
Said, but yeah, they're in the form of they're part of their soul.
Yeah.
And they take the form of an animal.
So is the brownie sort of like a companion like that?
No, not exactly. It's more like they're contractually tied to a family. So, they're not as oppressed as one of the Harry Potter's house elves. They're not oppressed like that, but they're just as powerful. So
they clean. They like
clean.
Cleanliness.
Yes. And order, yes.
And they get very grumpy sometimes.
Mm-hmm. It's because of all the cleaning.
People don't follow
that makes me grumpy too.
Yeah. But it's a funny one. We laughed a lot as a family. And we're looking for, you said there was a second one to that series too, Beth, right?
Well, it takes place in the same world, but our brownie is not the main character in that one.
Okay.
So, but yes, it's part of the Enchanted Files.
Okay. Yeah.
I love this with supporting documents. Oh.
Awesome. So that's going to be part of our summer reading program, right, Beth?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I'm going to start doing a little pre-work on that, and it should be a good time. So the summer reading program, it looks like we're going to start signing people up in June, but we're not going to go live with everything until June 15th. And we're going to try to do as much as possible of the reading program as an app. Basically, we've got an online program that'll give you lots of things to do and lots of things to look at. There will be prizes for getting badges of things done. So details will follow. Still working out a couple of the last little kinks, but we're almost there. So it should be lots of fun.
Should be. I'm looking forward to it. So, well, with the long weekend, does anyone have any plans other than Marie, you're reading books on audio?
I'm going to garden, and I have a bunch of seeds from the seed library that I planted, tomatoes and things that are getting pretty tall. So I've got to get my garden organized and try putting those outside. So we'll see.
That sounds very familiar.
you hardy them up by putting them outside before you plant them, or?
Well, I just put them out the other day, so they're actually outside, sort of under benches and things.
Okay.
So they're, they're okay. They're okay. I'm not one of the master gardeners. I just try. And I have a bunch of seeds that are direct sow seeds too. And if anyone wants any, Penny Wilson is organizing a new handout for the ones that can be sowed directly into the ground, not the ones that have to be started ahead. I know she has squash and all sorts of sunflowers, things like that. So you can look at Facebook. They have their Facebook page or their website, I think, to find out more about it.
That should be interesting.
Yeah.
Great.
And they're handing them out both here in Sturgeon Bay and Fish Creek. So people can get them all over the place.
I saw that via email, but I didn't see any posts yet. If I see a post, I'll get it shared over on our library page too.
Yeah. I think she was just putting it out about now.
Great.
So,
Maybe people on the email list had first dibs, so email us.
that may be true. Who knows?
Well, great. Well, we will continue this next week. So if you want to keep reading or watching, and we'll share more of what we are doing at home next week.
All right. Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.